Hi, everyone. Yeah, thanks, Nick, for the introduction. And yeah, so I am probably a slightly different presentation. It's going to be a bit more high level and less domain specific. So we're going to talk today about the road ahead for AI. I'm sure everyone has heard of AI and gets tons of articles in their news feed every single day, like I do. So yeah, so I'll just sort of give the high-level overview. We'll dig down a little bit and then open to questions. So let's see. Right, okay, so AI, yeah, so AI's here, right? Who would agree with that, or is there some skepticism? Okay, agree? Skeptics, a couple, a few. It's always good to have skeptics. So it is sort of a part, like I just said, it's a part of our daily lives, right? That's at work and at home and at play, right? It's integrated into absolutely everything, whether it's on our smartphone or our laptop or our work. So it is there, running always in the background, sometimes in the foreground, like ChatGPT, obviously. And so it offers incredible opportunities, right, for business and for ourselves, as well as risks. Okay, so that's the thing here. It's super exciting, but it also has huge risks. So we'll look at those a little bit as well, and we're going to look at how you guys can prepare for this huge tsunami that's happening now as we speak. Okay, so really this is the fourth industrial revolution. It's going to be bigger than the internet or the steam engine or the internal combustion engine or electricity, right? I think Sundar Pichai said this is going to be bigger than fire and electricity. Yeah, so anyway, hyperbole over. Let's look at where we are today. So who knows this diagram? Anyone seen this? It's a really good place to start, okay? I was told to keep this fairly high level. So basically, AI is, everything. What we're trying to do is basically imitate us, okay? Human intelligence. That's what AI is, okay? So that's the big circle. That's everything we can do, AI can do. We're not quite there, but we're certainly getting there. Made very impressive progress over the last couple of years, especially. And then we have machine learning, and then we have deep learning, which is the neural network in the middle. Machine learning is computers that learn from data, okay? So instead of rules-based, then we just throw all the data that we have at these machine learning algorithms, and then that's trained them, and then we throw new data at it, and it'll be able to predict the next token, the next call, the next video frame, etc. Okay, so we train the model, and then we put it into production, and then we have inference, so there's training and inference, two processes. But anyway, big picture, okay? If you take away one thing, it's probably that diagram. So, and it's exponential. This is what's kind of probably caught us all out in November 2022 when OpenAI released ChatGPT. Even they were like, internal memo, don't worry, take no notice, we're just introducing a new model. We're expecting 100,000 uptake, right? A month later, 100 million, fastest ever app uptake, okay? This is welcome to AI. That's what happened. So we're on an exponential curve. It's not linear, right? If it was linear, that goes back to about January 2016, we'd be at, that's about 10 million parameters. This is parameters per model versus time. We'd be up to about 20 million parameters. We're up to 2 trillion. Okay, so this is the nature of exponentials as well, which catches pretty much everyone else out unless, you're not alone. But also the data sets are growing exponentially and the hardware is getting exponentially more powerful. We saw the A100s from NVIDIA, now the H100s, the Hopper, and by the end of this year we'll have the Blackwell 100s, right? 10x, 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 right? And this is what's driving this whole thing, is the hardware. As well as, so these are all on exponential. So if you get 100x hardware, 100x data size of your data sets, and 100x size of the models, that's 1 million, right? This is why it's happening so quick. A little bit of history lesson, right? So it all took off in 2012. Um, who knows that? Jeff Hinton, Toronto? Right, okay, so good. So this is just gauging the level. So 2012, this is what I teach on the Oxford course too. 2012, so Jeff Hinton, he was at Toronto. He and his grad students came up with a neural network. Remember the inner circle, the deep learning, and it was a jump of like 30% in image recognition, right? Okay, so that was kind of the moment, right? 2012, for those in the industry, that people sort of went, okay, so neural networks is the most powerful form of machine learning. So it's all machine learning. You throw data at compute with these models and it makes predictions. So 2014, who's heard of GANs? Anyone? GANs, okay, so it's getting a little bit technical. So Ian Goodfellow at Toronto, 2014, came up with generative adversarial network. So we've all heard of GenAI, right? ChatGPT is generative AI. This was the first kind of generative AI framework, right? And it's different than what we're using today, but this is kind of when it all started. So it started 10 or 12 years ago, right? And here we are today. Transformers came out of Google in 2017. That is the architecture we're using today. And so, you know, this all kind of started with this $1 trillion paper. Attention is all you need. Who's heard of that one? Yeah, couple, okay. Attention is all you need. New architecture, but it's generative AI. I won't go into details here today, but you can ask me over lunch if you want. And then, who's heard of GPT-3? Because this was a big moment. Yeah, so like probably half the people, right? So generative pre-trained transformers, and that was 2020, 175 billion parameters, okay? So we've gone from 10 million to 175 billion, factor of 10,000 in 8 years, exponential, right? So here we are. This is really another huge moment. And then everyone remembers November 2022 when OpenAI released GPT-4, a history-changing moment. And then the models have, you know, so GPT-4 came out, 2 trillion parameters. Google Gemini has come out. Anthropic Claude 3 has just come out. A whole bunch of open source, Gemma from Google, 5 from Microsoft. Apple announced yesterday OpenElm. So these are open source, smaller models, almost as powerful as the 2 trillion GPT-4 model. So you see we're getting an open source kind of thing happening too, which makes it even more powerful. So it's kind of like the Linux things happening as well as the closed source. So the three I mentioned, Gemini, Claude, Anthropic, and GPT-4, ChatGPT from OpenAI and Microsoft are closed, and then all the other ones, Llama 3, which Meta, Facebook, announced last week, and is almost as powerful as GPT-4. These are open source, right? So we've kind of got the Red Hat thing going on as well as the Windows. So we've had Windows, now we've got Red, and so, yeah, things are going to move really quick with the open source, which can be good and bad, right? Because they're super powerful. Let's get to curing cancer and solving climate change, but let's not, you know, what else can the bad actors do with these things, right? So it's that real tension, which is the fourth industrial revolution, so we're going to feel these things more than we ever have. Right, okay, so moving along now. So this chart's basically saying we've solved, on the y-axis, text, code, images, basically solved for predicting or generating text, code, and images, sort of, kind of, doing pretty well. Won't be long before it is a solved problem. In other words, remember we're trying to create AGI, General Artificial Intelligence, which is us, more powerful and more capable than us. So we're kind of there with those first three. Videos is a little harder because it's got more information, right? 24 frames per second, that's 24 images per second. A movie 2 hours long, that's hundreds of thousands. So it's going to take a bit longer to get there with video, but there's nothing fundamental needed. It's just waiting on the compute, waiting on the Blackwell from NVIDIA and all the other ASICs coming along, AMD. And Intel Gaudi 3, anyone see that? That's an ASIC. These are called ASICs. They're specifically built for processing data with neural networks. So these are neural network chips. And Apple and Samsung and Google have all put them in the phones as well, which is the mobile side of things. Okay, so that's a little bit of a history lesson. So potentials and pitfalls, like I mentioned. Okay, so AI is revolutionizing industries already. It's starting to displace parts of jobs, maybe not whole jobs. And, content creation especially, all sorts of things really. It's been helping in science and all sorts. So we've got healthcare, finance, retail being disrupted. So there's some examples: early disease detection, fraud detection, which I think John talked about a little bit, and Dario, and personalized shopping, always, make the shopping experience more efficient. But there are pitfalls as well, and regulation is key, right? So how the heck are we gonna manage these things and make sure they don't get away from us? Well, that's a regulator's job in part. It's our job, it's everyone's responsibility not to misuse them. The guys creating them at Google and OpenAI, Google DeepMind up the road there in King's Cross, and OpenAI, bought by Microsoft for 50% for 10 billion, sorry. These engineers need to, make sure they test them, but also things happen, right? Mistakes happen, things break, things don't go as planned, like the Apollo rocket blew up, right? These things always happen. The space shuttle, Apollo mission, this is like an Apollo mission to build intelligence. So we need really good regulation, not too much. That will stifle innovation. We want to cure cancer in the next 10 years, right? We want to live longer, healthier lives. We want to solve climate change. We want more efficient solar panels. We want better batteries, right? But we just don't want things going badly wrong. So regulation is key, not too much, not too little. So the government does need to step up and put regulations in place in all 200 countries, right? And get together and kind of agree on what we should be doing. So strategies for implementation. Okay, so we need to start preparing a business now, if you haven't already. I think most people in mobile industry are using AI for the call records to improve marketing, improve performance, network performance, running apps on phones, huge market, trillions and trillions, total addressable market, right? Apps on phones. And the next Apple 18, I think it was iOS 18, but is it the 16? The next one coming out, I'll have to upgrade because it's going to be chock full of AI now. They can't be left behind. Samsung, Google, Pixel, they've all filled it up with AI as much as possible, all the Google algorithms. So Apple's playing a little bit of catch up. It's about a year behind, but like I said, yesterday they announced OpenELM, which is a machine learning framework, which is like the smaller models. It's going to run on device, like Gemma, Phi2 from Microsoft and Google is going to run on device. So OpenELM, right? Right. Okay. So that was a big deal. These things are big deals. And so we need to start with proof of concepts, invest in training. Kind of obvious stuff. Education is always everything, really. The more people know, the better we'll be off. Better off we'll be. Develop flexible and ethical AI strategies and ensure data is sufficient quality, well-organized, secure. So ethics should always be front of mind. First thing we think about before we deploy models, is it ethical? Is it going to do any harm? Do no harm, right? It's that simple. Not always that easy, but sort of ethics is kind of simple. But it's difficult because we're human, basically. So everything starts and ends with data, right? So that's the key. The better my data set, the better my prediction will be, as well as the hardware and the model. Everything else kept sort of constant. The higher quality my data set, the better my predictions will be. So that's key. So where do we get data from? If all your companies will have proprietary data, there's a whole bunch on the internet which OpenAI scraped. You may have opinions on that. New York Times certainly did, taking them to court. But then there's our proprietary data, right? So we're going to be building custom models for our company. Every single company in this world will have a custom GPT. Right. So AI's impact, that's basically You can tell I'm a bit of an evangelist. The future looks bright if we take care of the risks. Yeah, there's plenty of progress ahead. You saw that exponential graph. That exponentials keep going, right? They sometimes turn into S curves, which then turn into another, into another, into another. So we've had, transistors, valves, transistor, or mechanical valves, transistors, CPUs, now GPUs, now ASICs. So the exponential. There's no sign that it will slow down in the next few years, right? I'm thinking 10 years. I can't see any slowdown on this progress. So yeah, it's going to get scary when we get GPT-10, right? But also amazing. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting ride. It's going to revolutionize the way we live and work. It's already starting. Businesses that prepare now will gain a competitive. If you haven't started now, because it's exponential, it's not linear. I haven't got any good news for you. AI offers incredible opportunities, but you also must identify the risks and challenges. So for God's sake, start if you haven't, right? So how is it going to impact the mobile industry? You guys can tell me more about this than I can tell you about it, because my domain is AI platforms, right? So I'm more a generalist. But I picked out a few. There's personalization and all that goes along with it. There's photography, photos, being able to adjust them real time, sort of apps, but huge industries, huge markets. Security, which we touched on in the last talk. So network security, right? CDRs, call detail records. I used to work in telecoms for a little while back when I first started my career, and there's such a rich data set in call records, right? And signaling, all the signaling data that goes around. WhatsApp may be protected and encrypted, so we can't get hold of that, but there's all the data around that, all the metadata, okay? There's such a huge, rich data set. Telecom has such a good data set and a rich data set. You all should be using it incredibly, training your models on it, making your companies more efficient, developing new services and products, right? We can all be doing that today. Okay, and then healthcare. So, health apps are becoming a thing on phones, which is great because it helps people lead a more healthy, productive life. And check the time here, we're doing okay. So, so healthcare apps as well. So it's all about data. It's all about the hardware. We've got the neural network chips that run alongside the CPU and GPUs inside of these things now, including the Samsung, including Apple, iPhone, including everybody. So yeah, we've got the hardware. But so this is called Edge AI, right? When it runs on your device in your pocket. A lot of the apps still go off to the cloud, Amazon, Google, and Azure, Microsoft Azure, and then do the processing and the inference and come back, right? That's a round time trip of a few hundred milliseconds, right? Which is good enough for most apps. But it would be nicer if we could just run everything. This is the goal, is to run everything on device and not have to go to the cloud and come back. There's security issues too. You're putting your data in the cloud. It'd be nice to keep it on device. So this is the end game, right? Probably halfway along that journey, in 5 years, probably a lot of stuff will be able to run on these devices. Watch out for the iPhone 16. Okay, so final thoughts before Q&A. So let's embrace AI. Let's not get terrified of it, like some people are doing and trying to shut the whole thing down. I think that's a mistake. Like I said, regulation, too much, too little. Let's be sensible and try to stay on the middle road and keep the good things happening as well as looking out for the risks. AI will continue to offer incredible opportunities to everyone, not just companies, but also us personally. I personally use ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude every single day. I use it a lot, okay? So it's incredible. I mean, I'm blown away by the whole thing. I didn't expect to be here this quick. I've been in the industry for over 10 years. Things really did change on November 22nd, 2022. And it's just going to keep accelerating. I mean, Llama 3, right? That's open source, 70 billion parameter model. They're going to, saw Zuckerberg interview 405 billion parameter model, open source, right? That's powerful. That's scary. There's going to need to be a little bit of regulation around this stuff pretty soon, I think, because these models anyone can download and start playing just like Linux, but it's not Linux, it's intelligent. So anyway, this field's moving very fast. By developing the right skills and strategies, you'll be able to stay competitive. If you don't, you'll go out of business. You'll be very uncompetitive, right? Remember the exponential. The road ahead is full of promise. Staying ever mindful of the risks, though, is paramount. And the pace of change will only accelerate from here. It's not going to ever slow down again. So this is the weakest models and AI will ever have is today. It's only going to get more powerful. And with that, I'll say thank you and open it up for Q&A.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
That was great.
So I can ask a question?
Go ahead, John.
Hello? You can hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I had kind of a shocking awakening at a conference called MOG in San Francisco earlier this year. And one of the things they were saying is that, a lot of companies are moving towards using the readily accessible AI tools.
Right.
And as a company that is often a custodian of data for my customers, the statement was made, be careful because sometimes AI tools are taking that data outside of your environment to work with it and make sure that it's all local. Is that a true threat?
Yeah, that's important because data privacy issues and IP so people will, is it fair? I mean, this is back to ethics. Is it fair to use other people's work, like artists and everybody else, to build products like OpenAI have and sell them and not give any credit or money, basically, right? So there's that. There's also, you run the risk if you do that of exposing PII, right, personal data to the world. And you don't.
Ways to contain it locally.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we have to do. If we're going to do that, we have to be able to guarantee ourselves, that we can do it, and not just imagine we can do it, but guarantee we can do it. Yeah, that's a mindset thing. Yeah. So Samsung ran into trouble. They trained their internal data. They started feeding it into GPT-4. And that was stupid, right? And they paid the price because the world got to find out that they just leaked all their company data. So you don't want to do that. So you have to guarantee that if you try that, it's safe. Basically in a container, enterprise grade AI now from GPT and, OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, they kind of guarantee it. So they're taking that liability now. But a year ago, they weren't doing that. So again, the field's moving quickly, yeah. And that includes the law. Oh, hi.
I don't think so. Okay, now, sorry. Thank you, Peter, for the presentation. Gene Pradas from BTS. Your first slide really hits it because if you ask 5 different people, what is AI, you'll get 5 different reasons, an explanation. So yours pretty covered it. Couple of things, of course, there's some threats. You talk about regulations. What do you feel about deep fake?
Yeah.
What do you think? Those things need to be regulated. The whole aspect you just mentioned just now, copyright infringements.
Mm-hmm.
But I also understand that by 2020, excuse me, my thought, 25, 26, we're actually running out of data to input.
Yeah.
So that's a concern.
It is.
Yeah.
So 3 good points. So deep fakes, that's regulation that needs to be regulated really powerfully. And inside the companies, they need to test their models before they throw them over the fence and make sure that they're kind of safe. But then there needs to be very strong penalties if people try to use it for bad, nefarious examples. Running out of data, copyright issues first. That again, that's going through the courts as we speak. We haven't been here before, right? New technologies bring up new issues. It's the same ethics, do no harm, do no wrong, but every case is going to have to go through the court, I'm afraid. So content, maybe OpenAI will win their case against New York Times, right? And that will change the field for everyone. For me, that would be a nice result, but then again, you don't want, people not getting rewarded for their work. So it's such a balance there. We don't know until it's decided in the courts. Maybe every country will have a slightly different ruling. We don't know yet. And then the data running out, I don't see that as such a problem because we can generate synthetic data. Given a distribution, you can just generate 1,000 times more of that distribution. So that's not a problem, that training data. So that's what Waymo have done, the Google self-driving cars. You know, you can only drive physically on the road so many miles a year, even if it's millions, like Tesla, Google have done. But we need really billions to train these models. So what they do, they just generate 1,000x. Yeah. So that's not such an issue as people might think. Yeah. Any more?
Yeah. Hello, Peter. James Williams from XConnect.
Yeah.
Now, many of us in this room are involved in the fight against fraud, and an increasing part of that defensive shield to combat fraud will be AI. But bringing it very, very close to home to you at Oxford University, you are a smart cookie. Right. You have some exceedingly smart cookies on your course.
Right.
And how do you detect, because this is an issue and something we are seeing in the world of fraud and fraud prevention and detection, social engineering is a huge problem. Psychologists are being brought into the game by fraudsters. You combine that with the AI and the threat is increasing exponentially because frauds just look like genuine content.
Yeah.
How do you prevent your students using AI against you, literally completing projects using AI, whatever it might be, and how do you detect that?
Yeah, no, we've made a decision, right? And it wasn't a light decision to allow students to use generative AI tools, any tools they like, to do their homework assignments. And that's a big deal. Why did we make that decision? Because that's the world of work they're going into, right? So why create an artificial environment when it's not a real environment? So we said, yeah, use it like you'll be using in your work. And I think that was the right decision. In terms of, all this fraud detection, the great thing is AI, like companies like Darktrace, right, are using, and even Palo Alto Network, every security company, cybersecurity company is using AI to fight AI. Okay, it's already done. We're done, right? ChatGPT is 1,000 times smarter than me, right? It knows 1,000 times more. So what we do, we use machines to fight machines, right? So we've got two universes. We've got humans, meat, flesh, us, right? Done pretty well so far, general theory of relativity, but we're done, right? Machines can outdo us, especially in risks, right? Especially in cyber attacks. Humans aren't there, machines are doing it, right? So we need machines to fight machines. That's what I mean. We've got this separate universe. We've got the human universe, using machines, inventing machines, very clever. Now we've got machines inventing machines, machines building robots, machines doing these models. So really, we're starting to see this transitions into machines versus machines. So that's what's going to happen in security.
Sorry, just following up on that, how do you stop that risk? Because you talked about, it was prefaced by Nick saying, the Terminator scenario, you've got the likes of Boston Dynamics, the leaps and bounds in literally the robots, what they can do. Yeah. You mentioned that technology is 1,000 times smarter than you. Yeah. Robots are 1,000 times faster and stronger than I could ever be. Yeah. You marry the two. Yeah. And
we've got Terminator.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to have to get machines.
We'll have to be careful.
Yeah, I'm not responsible for that curve, right?
So there are food and drinks here tonight. Let's enjoy ourselves, I think, is the answer from Peter. Another question. Thank you. Thanks, James.
So thanks very much for the presentation. It's Paul Morris from Vonage. I wanted to pick up on the point you made about the exponential growth in the model parameters. Yep. I kind of wonder what the technological constraints are to that expansion. It sounds a lot like Moore's law that we're talking about here. So a two-part question. What are the technological constraints to the expansion of that? And then following that, what's the tipping point when we're no longer talking about AI, we're talking about artificial general intelligence?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great question. So there's two things there. One is the Moore's law finished in 2020. It flattened, so we're on a new curve, which is from NVIDIA, the GPU curve. So remember I said about the S curve. So Moore's law is done. That took us from 1970 to 2020, that's 50 years of Moore's law. But the exponential is just made up of about 10 of those S-curves, and Ray Kurzweil goes into that really well, but no one does it better than Kurzweil. And so we're on the NVIDIA S-curve right now, the GPU curve, and then from there we can go further with an ASICs, which are just made for processing neural network algorithms, right? So this is what I was saying. I think we've got another 10 years of the ASIC S-curve. And then we'll probably have neuromorphic computing in the next 10 years, and then quantum in 20 years. So, these S-curves just have a habit, right? So I'm not worried about us running out of steam. AGI is this kind of separate issue. AGI is when these models, we can kind of do that now, can do everything we can do, right? Drive a car, do math, do English, do language. They're sort of there now in varying degrees, like robotics isn't quite there, navigation through physical time and space. But a lot of the intellectual stuff, the white-collar stuff, we're kind of general AI right now, right? 2 trillion parameters and GPT-5 coming and Llama 3 open source. So I think we're sort of general AI for white-collar work, but the robotics might, take a little longer because it's just harder to build physical stuff. It's easier to have something running in a data center than it is in a physical robot that has to move around the world like we do. I mean, we're beautifully designed, and exquisitely designed by 4 billion years of evolution, right? Yeah, I'm not trying to take anything away from humans in biology, but I just see, it's already they're much smarter than we are in some aspects, and that's just going to accelerate exponentially. Yeah.
Okay, I've got one question online, Peter, if that's okay. The question is, can you imagine how an AI-driven model could be created to generate unique watermarks for SMS?
Yes.
Or RCS messages?
Yes. So that's what we're using. Remember I talked about the machine universe, machines doing versus machines. So machines will be not humans doing watermarking, but machines will be doing it. We can train, remember I said everything comes back to the data. As long as we've got a rich enough data set, like the watermarking data set, we can just train, Llama 3 on that data set. Anyone can because it's open source, and have it, produce watermarks. Yeah. So this is what we're going to see: machines doing all of the counter activity. Everything will be done by machines. Yeah. And it's a mind shift, right? It's a revolution. It's Galileo, Copernicus, getting persecuted by the church for saying, you know what? We've built telescopes. We've had a look, and the Earth goes around the sun, right? And they got locked up for that, right? This is even more than that. It's hard. It's very humbling that we're going to, like I said, kind of flippantly, we're done, right? It's 1,000 times smarter than me. I'm trying to grapple with it myself, right? Suddenly, I've got tools that do stuff that are way beyond what I could ever do. Yeah.
Any other questions? Catherine, yeah. I can probably hear if you want to.
That's for online as well, though.
Yeah. Remember when I said we've got we've got human universe. I want to still be texting WhatsApping my friends, right? But the machines will be doing this thing. Yeah. It's just, we got, our needs, right? We're human, right? We're not going anywhere, right? But yeah, we have to think, once these models get 10 times more powerful in the next year, what's going to happen? I don't even know what that world looks like. I really don't.
Have you got any thoughts? I mean, just you gave us some examples earlier on personalization and I think anti-fraud, things like that. Are there any things you think, will pop up in the telco space that we should just watch out for? Again,
I go back to the data. There's such a great rich data set because I did work in telco for a while. And all of those records, you can bet like Cisco just bought Splunk for a reason, for their data, right? People are buying companies for their data now. We're training the models on these, all the telco data that's ever existed. BT will be doing it, AT&T, Deutsche Telekom, all the mobile operators, O2, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I hope they're doing it as quickly as possible because then we have much more efficient networks. We have so much more innovation. We have more new products and services for us, better for us.
Great.
Yeah.
Another
Yeah,
question?
hi, Peter. It's me again. Just quick, you keep on saying that it's smarter than you, but it's not smarter than you. AI is not smarter than the human. The fact is that it is scale, it's volume, it's processing. Like in the telecom industry, people are using it in customer service. They're using it. We use it ourselves for routing optimization, processes, and stuff. It's scale, it's volume. The machine to machine. That's what's gonna. People are gonna lose a lot of jobs because of that. But it's not smarter than humans.
Well, okay, that's the last point, a really good point to end on, is that the reason you're saying that is because we have agency. We seem smarter, right? At the moment, we have to tell these models what to do. I have to type something into the GPT command line, write me, or Gemini, I can feed it, 1 million tokens now, which is like 20 novels or 10 hours of YouTube video. But I have to tell it what to do with that, right? That's because they don't have agency. They don't look at that YouTube video and know what to do like I do. That's because humans have agency and so do animals, right? Cats, dogs, even mice. That's changing. This is the latest area of research is AI agents. And so it's going to get scary because now products are starting to come to market with AI agents built in. So I still have to tell it to do something, but I don't have to tell it step by step. If there's 20 steps to do, configure this mobile network, give it all the IP addresses, or set up a cybersecurity system that would protect my network from this type of attack. It can do that. It's got an orchestration layer. There's companies like LangChain and Llama Index that basically orchestrate these LLM models. So it's going to get they're going to get agentic, right? So that everything we think our specialness is because we're conscious, we have introspection, I have self-awareness. These machines are not self-aware yet. They may become self-aware. I'm not sure. Then we have Terminator. So they're self-aware. And I'm self-aware and I have subjective experience, right? I have emotions. They don't have that. They can simulate emotions, but if they can simulate emotions and have agency, what's the difference? I think that's a good question to ponder over lunch.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're perhaps still in our industry a little bit stuck on chatbots, but what's exciting to hear, exciting and concerning and lots of emotions in there from what you've presented today. I think the one thing that's clear to me is that it's exponential change and we should be preparing ourselves for that. So we've gone over slightly, but I thought it was really, really useful session. I think we're really lucky to have Peter here today. So thank you ever so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So Peter will be around at least the next hour or so, or stay for lunch and then heading off. So if you want to grab Peter, please do, metaphorically speaking. And we'll come back, I think, in around an hour and a half-ish after lunch, so a long lunch break. Thank you.